What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the QPR series, and a little bit disappointed actually this episode. Really, the fallout from the defeat to Barcelona, obviously getting knocked out of the Champions League as a result, has really carried over into the rest of the couple games we played this month. And today we are playing an FA Cup game, and it's actually a replay against West Brom. We failed to get the job done against West Brom the first time, immediately after that Champions League defeat. And I felt like, really, it definitely carried on, carried over. The defeat did. It's just really not a very good performance at all. Then we played Cardiff and beat them 3-1 at home, which you'd expect, we should do. So that's fair enough, that's good. Then we went to Reading and lost 2-1. Now, I think we were poor, but to be fair, I think Reading were very good and are actually a very good team on this save. They are currently sitting just behind us in 7th. So they're actually a really quality squad. They've got some really good players. A couple of our former players in their ranks. Diakite, for example. But yeah, they seem to be a pretty good team. So today it's West Brom. And we should go through, and we are looking to win our 4th FA Cup on the trot. That's all we got now. That's it. 12 points. At the moment, it's 12 points between us and United in 4th, and they've got a game in hand on us. So it's not going to happen. We're not going to be... That's 15 points, effectively. Let's be honest, United are not going to lose their game. So that's 15 points. We aren't going to overturn 15 points. It's just not going to happen. So, Europa League, it looks like. So we've got to make sure we qualify for the Europa League, guarantee our spot there, and then just go for the FA Cup. But I think, really, the off-season, it's going to be... I think, actually, before we go into the game, I think I don't want to do too much of a breakdown in where we are wrong yet, because I'll do it in the season, but I would say, at the moment, I'm thinking, I think the signings we made, in terms of attributes, fantastic players, they really are, and, 7.03 rating is not too bad. Lopez, his rating suggests he's done really well, but we know differently. He's just not doing too good. Rodriguez, again, he's picked it up lately. But really, in terms of attributes, they're an improvement on what we got rid of. But I do think perhaps it was a mistake to get rid of role players like Martins Indy, Simao, possibly Giuliano, possibly. But what I would say is, I've looked at them, and since they've left the nest, since they've left us, they've decreased again. As it's just a trend, they always seem to don't play so well. It's a significant decrease in Simao's performances. It's just they don't play as well. Giuliano is the exception. He's done very well at Krasnodar. Maybe we should have kept them. Maybe I was wrong to get rid of them, but ultimately I think the problem has been that the big players haven't delivered. I think the big issue, I think Lopez has been a big problem. I think Rodriguez hasn't delivered to his price tag. Yes, he's 7.3 rating, was it, or something? That's really improved lately. He's done a lot better lately than he has done previously. So that's where the attributes, his ratings are a lot higher. But in terms of delivering on a game-by-game basis, he hasn't done it. And that's what we need from a player we paid so much money for. So I think what I'm going to do in the off-season is not wholesale changes like I did somewhat last season. I'm going to not do much at all, I don't think. Maybe 1, maybe 2 players. That's it. And if anything, it's just going to be promote Adrade into the team, Bennett, etc. And stability. I don't want to do too much and just upset things. Let the players settle. Maybe second season will be much better. Maybe that's what I'm hoping will happen. Second season, it's terrible, Redmond. Second season will be much better. I'm hoping from the likes of Rodriguez. Lopez is going. Come what may, I'm getting rid of him in the summer. He's the only one that is going, and I will look to bring a centre back in. So that's the only thing I'm going to do, really. I think at the moment that's where my mindset is. But you have to say so. Even if now best case scenario is now we qualify for the Europa League and we win the FA Cup. This season has been a total disaster. A total disaster from last season. Up to a point we were going for the Premier League title, We got to the Champions League final. We won the FA Cup. I believe we got, what, did we lose in the final of the Capital One Cup as well, was it? Or something like that? You know, last season just incredible, but failed to get the job done ultimately by failing to win the Big Two. But this season, is by comparison, it's just a complete disaster. And it was that middle patch before Christmas, I believe, that was the one that killed us, really. But I think the league is, as a whole, I think the league has got a lot better. There's more teams that are very, very good at the moment than there is. But I think Tottenham are, obviously they are top. Tottenham are the ones that are really leading the pack. I think Man City will come good, and I think Man City will. I think they'll win the title. I think this season on this game, I think they'll pip Tottenham to it. But I think Tottenham are an incredible team on this. Then there's United, of course, and whoever's in third, I can't remember off the top of my head. But they are. It's the standard of the league has got a lot better. As the whole league has got better, and our players haven't delivered, that's where we've fallen short, I think. Now, on a completely off topic, away from this save, while I was in Turkey on holiday, I read 2 books. I read Arsenal, The Making of the Modern Super Club. It was the 2011 edition, and just a absolutely fascinating read. I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I just felt like reading it because it's football, and it's absolutely fascinating. Doesn't matter if you're an Arsenal fan; it's for everybody. It's such an interesting the way they break down how Arsenal went from being not amateur, not semi-professional, but it was just the culture at the time. It was they were drinking a lot of drinking. I think it was in the 80s. I want to say the 80s. In the late 80s, there was a lot of drinking and drinking before games, for example. It wasn't the most professional in comparison to now, for example. That it wasn't that professional, and the way, for example, David Dean came in and transformed it. And then they talk about how the board there's a lot of bitching going on in that boardroom up till now. There is about what Arsene Wenger's done. They completely, literally scrutinise Arsene Wenger, what he's done in terms of transfer policy, in terms of the finance of the club, in terms of how much power he has at Arsenal. But they come up with good and bad points. Now, reading it, before I read it, my perception was this was going to be a book about, let's big up Arsenal and love Arsenal. But it's completely the opposite. They really hammer Arsenal on a lot of points. Particularly, Arsenal are perceived to be this amazing club at developing young players. According to the book, and really think about it, it's true. That's complete BS. They've got Wilshere, but Wilshere's the complete one. He's not the normality. He's I don't know what the word is there. He's the exception to the rule. They have so many players come through that academy, and where Barcelona, for example, have so many players, and they'll get a decent amount of good players who can potentially play for the first team. Arsenal don't have that, and that's a huge. They really do scrutinise, and that's due to the academy wasn't particularly good up till a certain point, where United, for example, was so far ahead of them in terms of their academies, and then Arsene Wenger developed the academy more. It's just really interesting the way they compare it and stuff. Really fascinating read. So I recommend that, and you can get it off Amazon. And then the next book I've read is Pep Guardiola, Another Way of Winning by Guillaume Balaguer. Another absolutely fascinating read. If you read Jose Mourinho, The Further Anatomy of a Winner, if you read that and then you read Pep Guardiola, Another Way of Winning, and if you also throw in the Arsenal one, what's very common between both Wenger, Marino and Guardiola, and I'm sure other managers whose autobiographies I've not read at this point, is they're all obsessive. They are absolutely obsessed with the job in hand and completely blinded by anything else. The only thing that matters is being a football manager, and that, I think, is the difference. And I'm sure Ferguson was the same, but that is the difference that separates them from a manager, for example, in the Championship, League 1, League 2, someone who's not at the top of their profession. That's the difference. I mean, it shows. I mean, for example, Pep Guardiola started looking like a young man when he took over Barcelona. He ended looking like an old man who was literally on the verge of insanity. He was so obsessed with the job, and it's really interesting to compare and see how they are literally. They're so obsessive. Obsessive is the only word you can use to describe them. And it's really interesting to read about how they go about being top managers and their different ways of doing it, for example. But there are so many similarities between Guardiola and Marino, for example, who I believe are the two. At the moment, I'd say they're the two best managers in the world. And there are so many similarities between the two of them. It's scary how similar they really are. So I recommend those two books I've just said, as well as the Jose Mourinho, Another Way of Winning. Further Anatomy of a Winner, sorry. Those 3 books are 4 books. That'd be 4 books? Yeah, 4 books, 3 books. Absolutely fascinating. Anyway, that was completely off topic, and we won that game 1-0. I completely lost track of where we were then. I was so wrapped up in talking about books, but oh well. I recommend those books though. Next episode will be against. I'm not playing West Brom again. We'll play Cardiff. We'll play the semi-final of the FA Cup, I think, as the FA Cup's the only competition we're interested in now. So we'll play Cardiff in the next episode, and I will see you guys next time.